Hello everyone, welcome to our third and final AYO Auditions webinar. My name's Katie and I work in AYO's engagement team, and today I'm joined by my colleague Nathan from our operations team. Thanks for joining us, Nathan.
No worries, thanks Katie. Hi everyone.
So Nathan's going to be answering your questions on how to record your video audition. We'll start by talking about finding a recording space and setting up this space for your audition. And then we'll talk about the more technical side of recording, what devices to use and so on. After that, we'll touch on audition etiquette. So that includes what to wear, how to introduce your pieces. And we'll finish by talking about the submission process. So how to get your videos uploaded to the AYO portal. So thank you to those of you who've submitted questions in advance. We've had loads of really amazing questions, so we'll try and get through as many as we can. If there's anything you'd like to ask as we go, please feel free to submit a question through the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So Nathan, if you're ready, I've got our first question for you on setting up your audition space. Our question is, how do I pick a good room to record in, and do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I think that's a really good place to start. There are so many options when you're picking a room, but I'd say there are two really important factors that you should consider. First, most importantly, is how it sounds. You're recording an audition and putting on a performance, so you want to make sure that the space you're in accurately represents the best of your abilities. And then secondly to that, it's the look and the feel, making sure there's enough space and making sure you can show yourself on the video as well. With the sound, there's a few things that you can be aware of and try to avoid. Some people think dance studios are good, but oftentimes the sort of hard tiled floors and walls that you get in there, and in some rooms in houses as well, they can actually cause a little bit too much reverb and echo, and it actually makes it harder for the panel. So try and find a neutral sort of space. Thinking of the practice rooms you've been in before, but imagine maybe one that's slightly larger than that. That would be your ideal space, but I'd encourage you to actually test out these different spaces and set up a camera and do a test recording, and then listen back to it and see if it sounds like what you sound like, if it's an accurate representation. As far as the look and feel of a room, it's important that we get this right, because the idea of doing these auditions virtually is that we're trying to emulate the experience of a live audition for the panelists as close as possible. So you want to try and find a space that is like a medium room or larger. Slightly larger than a practice room would be good. But imagine that you're standing there and the panel is over where the camera is, and somewhere that you can have enough room to maybe move a little bit and remain on screen, have your whole body on screen. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. If you can find a place that you're comfortable in, it looks all right and it sounds all right, then you'll be set.
Then great. So we've had a couple of questions that have come in about how musicians should position themselves in the frame and whether they need to be visible from head to toe. Could you maybe talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, I mentioned it quickly then, but like I said, we're trying to replicate a live audition, and in a live audition, the panelists will be able to see the entire person there. So that's why we've put in a recommendation that you position it in a way that you can see the entire body, and you can see your instrument. Make sure there's no obstructions. Make sure the stand isn't in the way of like your hands if you're playing. We've actually got some guidelines to help you achieve that in our information for applicants document, which you would have seen in an email that Katie referenced earlier, as well as online in the portal and a few different places as well. So make sure you check that out and see if there are any specific guidelines about your instrument, and that'll help make things a lot better.
Yeah, great. And we've also, on that point, we've had a couple of questions about submitting video in portrait mode. Are musicians able to do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've recommended against it in the documents, mainly because it can be a distraction to the panelists, and it can cause audio distortion if you're recording on a phone or some devices, as well as the fact that it doesn't really reflect a real audition, and oftentimes your instrument and when you move around, it's harder to catch you in frames. So yeah, if possible, definitely try and do it in landscape mode. But if you find that due to the space that you have available or the sound being compromised, if you have to put the microphone or camera in a certain place, if you find that it is better to do it in portrait, then we can make that happen.
Okay, great. So moving on now to the more technical side of things, we've had some questions about which devices to use, how many takes to do, and so on. So let's have a look at some of those now. Our first question is, can I use a mobile phone to record my audition?
Right. Yes, you can. These days, mobile phones have gotten a lot better in quality, and most mobile phones that have been made in the last 4 or 5 years will have the standard that we're looking for from the visual and most of the audio as well. So you'll want to make sure that it's in 720p resolution. But yeah, you can definitely use a phone.
Yeah, great. And so you mentioned that devices need to meet certain video specifications. Could you share some advice on how to find out your phone's recording quality if you're not sure?
Yeah, again, it comes back to testing really. So if you're not sure what your phone can actually record at, I'd suggest setting it to whatever high quality is, or even just setting it to default and just recording a small sample of anything just for a couple of seconds. Then when you're viewing the video, you can actually just hit the information on like an iPhone or an Android, or put it on your computer, and it'll show you what the resolution actually is. And to hit the 720p guideline that we put there, it means that the resolution pixel size should be 1280 by 720 pixels in size. It's a bit technical there, but that's also on the information document, and it's oftentimes just referred to as 720p, so that you might see that there. If it's that resolution or higher, then you're good to go.
Great, thank you. So our next question is, will the device I record on affect the assessment? What if the quality is worse compared with other people's auditions?
Yeah, that's a good question too, especially thinking about mobile phones. But I'd remind everyone that the panelists that we have are very aware that doing auditions over video is something that a lot of people haven't done before, and that not everyone has access to the best technology. So they'll be considering how the recording interprets your performance. But in the end of the day, they're here to assess your musicality and your technique and your performance, and the quality of the devices isn't really part of that. So
great, thank you. So some people like to use multiple devices to record the audio and the video for their audition. Could you tell us a bit about how to capture and combine, for these people, not everyone, but for these people, how they would capture and combine audio and video separately, and whether there are any rules around that?
Sure, yeah. You can definitely do this, but like you said, there are a few more rules that you have to follow to make sure that it's compliant with the rest of the guidelines we've put there. Mostly the things to remember is that you have to record them at the same time. Like, you absolutely can't record a video of you doing the performance and then substitute in different audio from a different take. So you'll have to make sure that they are of the same take and it's a continuous take all the way through. And if you're recording on separate devices and combining them, you want to make sure that they line up as perfectly as possible. In fact, we recommend if you are using multiple devices to record, you actually simply connect them to the computer. There's a host of programs that will allow you to record from these devices as you go, and it will just continue combining them as you record. So you won't have to do any cutting or pasting at the end. But I will remind people that when doing this, the only editing that you can do is aligning the audio and trimming the start and the end. So there's no alteration to the sound or the video quality or effects, that kind of thing. Same as with the regular videos.
Yeah, great, thanks. Our next question is, can I record multiple takes?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the good things about doing a video audition is you can record it a couple of times and make sure that the video is a good representation of you. I keep coming back to that, but it's really important. And with taking multiple takes, the thing to consider is that you have to do a single take all the way through, one for your excerpts and one for your own choice piece. And I'll touch on this a little bit later, but there's an applicant statement that you have to actually say at the start of each take, at the start of each video. So feel free to record as many takes as you like, but be aware that you have to make that statement at the start of each take. Otherwise, we won't be able to accept it. So yeah, I guess make sure that you make the statement so that your takes are actually worth it. But yeah, feel free to do as many as you like.
Great, cool. We've had some questions come in about which parts of the audition should be recorded together or separately. So we'll take a look at some of these now. Someone has asked, can I record excerpts separately and combine them afterwards?
Right. Not for this time. I'll mention again that we're going for the experience to emulate a live audition. And when you're doing it live, you have to do it all in one go. You can't play one excerpt, then go out and have a coffee and come back or try again. So for our auditions, we will need you to do one continuous take of all the excerpts together, and then one continuous take of your own choice piece. And so you'll end up with 2 separate videos. But yeah, they have to be one full take each with no editing.
Yeah, great. We've got some percussionists actually who are asking questions about this.
Right.
So for percussionists recording their excerpts, do you have any advice on how to manage the transition between instruments without stopping the video?
Yeah. We were considering this because I know the circumstances with percussion where they'll have a lot more instruments and they'll be swapping a bit more frequently. So we've got some tips to say. Basically, if you find a room large enough that you can set up all of your instruments in advance, and then set the camera in a way that you can kind of swivel it around and see most, that generally gets the best result. We understand here that if you want to have a friend come in who is a silent observer only, and they can actually move the camera around for you between pieces. So you can play your excerpt, and then as you're moving to the next instrument, they can move the camera to follow. But yeah, I guess anything else with percussion, make sure the camera is high enough as well, because if it's not high enough, you're not going to be able to see the mallets hitting the instruments. We recommend at least as high as the timpani heads, but a little bit higher than that is fine. But yeah, again, we still do want you to have a continuous take. So yeah, I guess to touch on that before we move it, with the continuous take, it's okay if you need to have a little quick pause between your excerpts. In a live audition, you'd be welcome to take a bit of a drink and refresh your mind a little bit. So don't feel like you have to rush through just because there's a camera there. The panelists, they're able to scrub a little bit ahead in the recording if they need to, but yeah, you're more than welcome to take a second between, as long as you keep the recording going and as long as you don't leave the frame.
Great, thank you. We've had a question just come in. Can I play my excerpts out of order provided they're all in the same take?
Look, this one, in a live audition, a panelist might ask for this, but for these recorded auditions, we do want you to do them in order. It helps the panel to keep organized and assess comparatively between people well. And it's just a little more seamless for the assessment process. So yeah, we've asked that you do them in order.
Yeah, great, thank you. Our next question is, do the excerpts and own choice piece need to be recorded on the same day?
Yeah, good point. They are 2 separate videos, so they don't necessarily have to be recorded on the same day. But generally it's a good idea to record them both while you've got access to a space that you're comfortable with and you're in the zone for recording. So no, they don't have to be recorded on the same day as long as the videos themselves are individually continuous.
Yeah, great. And also, so in the event that somebody is auditioning on an auxiliary instrument, do they need a separate video for their auxiliary instrument audition?
Yes, yeah, they will. You'll notice in the upload portal that there's actually a separate spot to put that video. But yeah, you'll have a separate video just like you do for the own choice piece. And again, it's one continuous take through with a statement at the start. And yeah, but once you've done that, it'll just be uploaded the same as the others.
Perfect. So our next topic is audition etiquette. So basically how you should present yourself in your audition. Our first question in this area is, what should I wear for the audition?
Right, that's a good one. We are not so strict about the dress code for this. you might think of big concert blacks, and that's totally fine, but you're welcome to wear something that is smart casual, as long as it's comfortable for you to perform in, somewhat professional, that you go outside, nothing too risque. But yeah, school uniforms are totally fine as well. We've had some videos in past years when that's it's been relevant, and so yeah, you can use a school uniform, but yeah, just generally smart casual is fine.
Okay, great. And do I need to talk in the videos, and what should I say? Asks somebody.
Yes, that's a good one. I have spoken about that, mentioned the applicant statement a few times. So yes, you will need to talk at the very start of each video, but that's the only time you'll have to talk at all. The things that you have to actually say, they're listed in that information for applicants document that I've referred to a few times, but I'll just mention it here. The specific wording is just to give a little bit of context for the panelists, and also to confirm that the video is being recorded for this audition and for this year specifically. So I'll just do a demonstration. So reading off that document there, the statement for me, if I was auditioning on flute, would go like, hello, my name is Nathan. I'm auditioning on flute for AYO's 2021 programs. This video contains my excerpts. And that's it. That's all you need to say. If you were doing your own choice piece instead, you'd simply say at the end, you're doing your own choice piece, but you'd follow that up by just saying what it is. You'll say you'd be performing Mozart's Concerto in D, and then you would say the movement or segment. So if it's a movement, a full movement, then that's fine. If it's just a segment, then you can mention that. That information will also be something we get you to enter. But yeah, it's just literally a sentence or two. And you can see those words in that document if you want to make sure you're getting it right.
Correct, thank you. We've had a question through just now. Do we need to introduce each excerpt before we play it?
Good question. No, you don't, because as you said before, if you're doing them in order, the panelists, they've all got copies and they're quite familiar with them and familiar with the order. So yeah, you're fine to just play one and then have a pause and play the next one. You don't need to introduce them all individually.
Our next question is, do I need to talk? Oh no, sorry, we've answered that one already. How long should each video be overall?
Yeah, that's a good one. It depends on which video you're recording, I guess. For the own choice piece, the segment of the piece that you're doing has a limit of 5 minutes. So the video itself, we expect, would only be slightly longer than that, so you can make your statement. So yeah, you'd want to keep that one to the minimum for that. But for the excerpts, it'll vary a little bit depending on what instrument you're doing, because some of the excerpts take a little longer, and you might take pauses between. We'd say probably around 15 minutes is the high end we'd be expecting. Yeah, if you're going higher than that, then maybe consider if the tempos are correct, or if you might be taking a bit too long. But yeah, the time, there's no hard limit on it, but yeah, probably around 15 minutes is the average high end.
Yeah, great. Someone has asked, can I have a friend in the room?
Yeah, well, I mentioned that about percussion as well, but it is okay if you can have one person there to help with the technical side of things and the recording. You don't want to start recording and then your camera's full or something and you've missed a take. But again, they must be a silent observer, so there's no talking and no one else in the frame that's not you. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, you can have someone there, but just be aware that it's a recording for your audition, and yeah, you're the focus of that. So
yeah, okay. And we've had another percussion question actually. Are the percussion excerpts and timpani excerpts filmed in 2 separate videos? Should they be filmed in 2 separate videos?
I believe they are, yes, because the applications themselves are different, and for each application you've got another video. So for the percussionists, yeah, you'll have technically two videos for your excerpts there, which balances out because they don't have an own choice piece for a lot of reasons, but that's one of them. But yeah, definitely one video each, so you make the statement at the start of each.
Okay, great. Oh, this one's a good one. What should I do if someone interrupts me during the recording?
Yeah, that's I guess that's something you can encounter. Look, unfortunately, if that happens, you'll need to re-record it again. I'll harken back to what I was saying at the start, that we're trying to replicate the environment of a real life audition in person, and Yeah, having interruptions is a distraction for the panel, and I'm sure if you're interrupted in the middle of your recording, you're probably going to be thrown off your game a little bit. So yeah, we do ask that you would restart it. But yeah, there's definitely a few things you can do to minimize that. You could put a sign up on the wall, or you can have a friend sitting outside the door just to make sure people are quiet if it's a bit loud. Oh, and make sure that your phone is on silent so that it doesn't go off during your recording, because that'd be unfortunate. If you're actually recording on your phone, you could put it in airplane mode, and so it wouldn't vibrate, it wouldn't receive anything. So yeah, good question.
Oh, good tips, good tips. Someone has asked, we've probably covered this slightly, but someone's asked, can I submit a video that I made for a different audition earlier this year?
Right, yeah, so for this one, yeah, we need you to record for this audition. It seems a little complicated, but realistically, we just need to know what your performance ability and your technique and your musicality, we need to know what that is now, basically. So in the same way that you record your excerpts now, we do ask that you have a recording from your current state, I guess.
Yeah, great. So once you've done all of the above, you've made your recording, you're happy with it, and it's time to submit it to AYO. We'll take a look now at some of the questions we've had about this part of the process. So Nathan, perhaps we could start. Maybe you could talk us through how people should go about uploading their videos to the AYO portal.
Yeah, okay, that's a good thing, because it's a little bit different this year. We've changed up the portal to be able to accept all this, but the overarching location is pretty much the same. So you would log into your portal the same way you would when you're creating your application, but you'll see there's a tab there called My Auditions. If you navigate there, there'll just be separate entries for any individual auditions you have. So if you're applying for more than one instrument, you'll have more than one listing there. If you've got an auxiliary instrument, that'll also be listed separately. And what you want to do is you just click on the name of the instrument there and that listing. It'll open up to a page that has some boxes to put in information and a spot to upload. So you just fill in that information. Some of it will be pre-filled from the start. You'd be putting in stuff about your own choice piece. And yeah, then you just hit upload and move your video there, and yeah, confirm that, and it'll upload. And then yeah, once that's done, you just hit save basically, and that's it.
Yeah, great. Someone has asked, what is the average upload time?
Yeah, so this one will also vary a bit depending on the size of the file, the speed of your internet. Generally, it's not too long, probably 5 minutes, but we have seen that it can take a little bit longer in certain circumstances. So if it can take almost up to half an hour sometimes, just remain to be patient with it. If it's quite a long time and it looks like it's not working, then you can contact us and see if we can work out what's going on there. But yeah, just I guess make sure that you don't refresh the page or close it while it's uploading. But yeah, it might get stuck at 70% for a little while and keep going. But yeah, just be patient, it'll get there eventually.
Yeah, okay. So we've had a similar question just come through. Is the file size of the recording an issue? And aside from the uploading side of things, are there any limits on file sizes at all?
No, but like I said, it can take a lot longer to upload them. Yeah, the file size itself isn't an issue, because we'll when we're assessing them, we'll have them downloaded in a way that the file size won't impact it. But yeah, it just means that it might take a long time to upload.
Yeah, great. We've probably covered this earlier on, but just to clarify, someone has asked, should I submit separate videos for the excerpts and the own choice piece?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, you'll have the two videos, and yeah, they're both submitted separately, but they'll be on the same page. So once you've submitted one video, it doesn't really matter which one you do first, but you'll make sure that you put the second video there as well, and it'll just appear there as a separate listing.
Yeah, great. Our next question is, do I need to format or label my videos in a certain way?
Yes, you do. So there is, again, in that information for applicants document, there's a section that covers the upload process. And in that section, we've got a specific spot that mentions how you should title it. it basically boils down to saying it's the 2021 AYO instrument or violin excerpts or own choice piece, and then your name. But yeah, make sure you do have a look at that document to see the exact measure. It just makes it much easier for us to process, and it means the panel will be able to get through people seamlessly. So yeah, just make sure you check that document for the correct format there.
Yeah, great. And if you have misplaced that document, it's in the audition portal on the My Auditions tab, so you should be able to relocate it. Our next question is, what other information do I need to provide when I submit my recordings?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, once you get onto the page to submit, there will be a few boxes to fill in. Mostly all we're asking for here is information on your own choice piece, being the title and the composer and the segment or the movement. But in actually submitting it, there will be a few boxes you have to tick just to confirm that it's like a true and accurate recording, the standard sort of declarations. So make sure that you read through that and click those buttons as well.
Okay, great. Our next question is, what's the latest I can submit my audition?
Right. Yeah, I guess that is a pretty important one as well. So we've got those dates on the website, but just a reminder, the string auditions, that will close on the 27th of October, close of business. Wind and brass is the 29th of October. And for everyone else, which is the established ensembles, piano and harp, percussion, that's on the 9th of November. So yeah, make sure you keep an eye on the calendar.
Okay, great. I'm hearing from my colleague that we've got some additional questions, so I might just wait for one of those to come through.
All right.
Here we go. So in the audition sheet, it says you need to see the player from head to toe, but is it okay that it's mostly the upper body with the instrument?
Yeah, I guess I touched on that a little bit earlier, that we do want to see as much as possible so that we can get the full picture like we would in a live audition. So if there's any way you can move the camera further backwards or reposition yourself to get more of yourself in the image, that's it's better. But if doing so would compromise your performance or the quality of the audio, then it is acceptable to have it reduced a little bit like that.
Okay, great, thank you. We've got another one here. If you're a wind player, do you need to stand up or sit down for your audition?
Good question. That's actually up to you. So if it was a live audition, it would be the same way. A lot of people stand up, but some people prefer to be seated. As long as we can see all the various parts of the instrument and the playing, and you're not obstructed by your stand, then it's totally fine either way. Okay,
great. Oh, this is an interesting one. Someone has asked, can you play your instrument in between excerpts?
Right, as like a little warm up. Yeah, that's fine. I'd say imagine yourself there in a live audition. With two people sitting there waiting, you can definitely blow a few notes through or check some tunings, but try not to take too long because they will be watching it as well. But yeah, that's all right if you wanted to readjust things in between, as long as you, as I said before, as long as you stay in the frame and don't stop the video.
Yeah, great, thank you. We've got probably time for just this one more question. What happens if our own choice piece is longer than 5 minutes?
Look, in that case, we'd probably come back and ask you about it. It's a planning thing, really. We only have time to be able to hear a certain amount, so we'd need you to kind of select the best 5 minutes that you can put forward. So we don't need you to play all of a movement. If the movement itself is a bit longer than 5 minutes, don't feel like you have to play all of it. You can start a bit later, start a bit earlier, or you can choose something else. But yeah, I'd recommend finding something that does fit within those 5 minutes. Yeah, don't feel pressured to pick something that fills all that time either.
Yeah, great. We've got one more question actually, which is a good one, which is, we mentioned that the auditions close at close of business on those days. And somebody's asked us just to clarify, is that AEDT or is it local time? And the answer is that it's local time.
Yes, that's a good point. So thanks for asking that to clarify.
Thanks for that one. So I think on that note, as it's 7:30, we'll bring our webinar to a close. If you've still got further questions about recording your AYO audition, then please do get in touch by emailing info@ayo.com.au, or if you'd like to chat through things on the phone with one of the AYO team, then please do give us a call at the AYO office on 1300 668 500. Thanks so much, Nathan, for answering all of our questions today.
Thank you, Katie. It was good to be here.
That's all from us, guys. Have a good evening.